You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, good evening and welcome to your Supernatural show. My name's Gemma and I will be your host for this evening. Unfortunately, Jolene is unable to join us tonight because she's poorly, but the lovely Kerry has agreed to step in for her. So thank you very much, Kerry, for helping us tonight.
Oh, you're very, very welcome, my lovely.
And joining us as a guest tonight is Chloe Stevenson. A lot of you may not be very much aware of Chloe. She's quite new to blogging, which is the reason why we've asked her to join us tonight. So good evening, Chloe.
Hiya.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, thank you. So as you're aware, this is our first ever show.
Yes.
So just to let everybody know a bit about myself, I am a paranormal investigator and I've been doing this for a good 10 to 15 years now. My passion really is around the paranormal and proving it and getting the proof out there, which is something that I'm aware that you do as well, isn't it, Chloe?
Yeah, I try to at least.
Yeah. How did your blog come about? What made you decide to start writing a blog and sharing it out to the public?
Because I've always grown up around the paranormal, it's always sort of had an interest. I've always had like an interest in it. And then as I got older, a lot of people always ask me, oh, do you believe in that? Why do you do it? Like, you know, they're sort of more intrigued, I guess, more than anything.
Yeah.
So I thought the best way to maybe log it was to just do a blog whenever I go on an event or do something of my own. And just basically log it as my own adventure for people to read and, you know, have their own opinion on it. Whether they decide to believe it or not, each to their own. So I can only put my point across, you know.
Yeah, and quite rightly so. I mean, a lot of people you do find, especially people that aren't in the paranormal, they don't quite understand it and they don't understand the passion for it and they don't understand why you do it.
Yeah.
And I've with meeting your mum, because I've met you and your mum on paranormal investigations before. That was how we met, wasn't it, Chloe? It was through an investigation.
Yeah.
And your mum is quite sensitive as well, isn't she? So she tends to pick up on a lot of spirit and spirit activity.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you pick up on that as well?
I never used to. But in the last, I'd say 2 years, I'd say that I've become more aware of things happening.
In what way? In what way more aware?
I tend to hear a lot of things
that
other people can't. And then it's been verified by the history of the building or whatever I've been in. Mm-hmm. And then I went on another event last month, I think it was. And I actually saw my first image, which had a link to the building as well, which was quite... Really? It was weird because I'd never had it happen before. It was quite unbelievable.
Yeah, I think the first time you do see something, I can remember my first time as if it was yesterday, and it was like, oh my God, what is that?
Yeah.
And it is quite daunting your first time. So how did that make you feel?
I felt really weird at first, and then it sort of makes you feel a bit silly. Like when you speak about it.
Yeah.
I stood in a room and all these people were looking at me, and I felt really ridiculous, basically.
Did nobody else see the apparition? Was it just yourself?
Well, it was just an image. All I saw was an image of a cross, like literally nothing else, as if it was just like a pencil cross. And it turned out that the building we were in had like brickwork from the Abbey and stuff put in it.
Oh,
so
really?
it had a religious
Where
meaning
was that
to it.
location?
That was the Spirit House in Evesham.
Oh, yeah.
But I'd never been before. I looked up at any of the information or anything, but it had obviously a link to the building.
Do you not search on a history on a location before you go to an event?
No. I like to go and see if I can pick anything up and then do my research after.
Yeah, you see, I'm the same. I do that. I like to go in blind, and then anything that I do get, come home and research it and see if there's anything that corresponds to what I've got. So with your blog,
absolutely.
Chloe, how long have you been writing your blog for now?
I did my first post back in May, so it's quite new. Back in May it was that I did my first write-up. So
Have you had much interaction with it?
I get quite a lot of views on it, because I share it on all my social media platforms.
Yeah.
Obviously there's different people from different sides that see it.
Yeah. Where can people find your blog? I know Kerry's going to put a link on the Parasearch Radio page, but where can people find it?
It is on my Twitter, and my Twitter is unlocked so anybody can access it. But it is through a site called Simple Site.
Simple Site.
So it's literally myghostblog.simplesite.com, and it's really easy to navigate through, and it just shows you all my my write-ups through there and anything else that I put up on there.
What are your aspirations for your blog? Where can you see this going, Chloe, or where would you like it to go?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. At the moment, I'm quite happy just sort of writing for everybody to see my perspective of it, and maybe open people up a little bit more to the paranormal side.
Yeah, definitely.
As opposed to being a bit, what's the word? Maybe blindsided.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can be disheartened if they go on an event, for example, and nothing happens. I think a lot of people forget that spirits in buildings aren't there to perform,
Exactly.
They are as living as we are, and I wouldn't appreciate somebody coming into my home and telling me what to do.
Exactly. It is all about respect, isn't it? I personally believe that is my personal belief. You have to give respect to actually get some form of activity, and as it is, we're not there they're not there to entertain us, we're there to entertain them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you've got to be respectful, and you've got to treat a spirit as you would want to be treated.
Exactly.
And whether that means you get no activity or all the activity in the world, it shouldn't put anybody off.
Do you not find that on a lot of investigations you get people coming in that are expecting chairs to be thrown across rooms and doors to be flown off hinges and whatnot, rather than the small things like knocks and bangs and the EVPs if you're lucky enough to capture one? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I suppose that's sort of what horror films does as well. It puts an image in people's mind of what they should expect.
It certainly does. It can be very annoying at times. I totally agree.
And that's not the reality of it.
No, it's not. It's not, unfortunately.
No.
Here's a really weird question for you, Chloe. And don't think I'm going crazy, but do you have any rituals that you do before you go out investigating?
No.
So there's nothing at all that you do? Because I like to have 10 minutes to myself. I like to have peace and quiet. I like to calm myself down and clear my head before I go into any investigation.
No, I just tend to jump right in. I know on a lot of events they try and get you to do protection.
Yes.
Which I used to do all the time. I've found that if I don't do it, I mean, I'm not saying it's the same for everybody, But I find if I don't do it, I tend to hear a lot more or feel a lot more.
Yeah. So do you feel almost as if the protection stops the activity coming through or reduces it?
In a sense, yeah. But then I take the risk of not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's on me.
You are aware of the risks that could potentially happen. Absolutely,
yeah. But then I know a way that if I don't do it and I do feel something bad, I will then take just a couple of minutes to find my white light and my protection.
Yeah, it's always best. At least you do know what to do if you feel that something's not quite going to plan, because let's face it, as much as you can go on investigations, I don't really believe anybody is an expert in the field.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Every day's a learning day when it comes to the paranormal.
Absolutely. You never know what you're going to be faced with. So you have to be prepared for all aspects of it.
You do, definitely. Out of all the investigations that you've done up to now, Chloe, which one has been your favourite and why?
Ooh. I think it has to be the Falstaff in Stratford. I've only been there twice, but the 2 times I've been there, I've had experiences that I've never had anywhere else and that I physically can't explain.
Do you try to debunk any sort of paranormal activity? Do you try and debunk it before jumping to the conclusion that it is paranormal?
Every time. I don't really see the point of doing events if you don't try and at least reason with yourself about what it could be.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, I mean, let's face it, your mind can play tricks on you.
Absolutely, especially in the dark, because your rest of your senses go on overdrive. You have to be careful.
Exactly. Yeah, I think you're totally right there. I mean, if you automatically jump to the paranormal, where is your proof?
That's it. And with Falstaff, like both times, I physically can't debunk what happened.
What did happen?
The first time I went, we were sat in the top room. I think it's the attic room. Which had a very, very heavy feeling in there anyway. And I ended up with a scratch down the back of my neck.
Really?
The 3 people sat behind me actually ran the event, so there's no way they would have done it. And it was there the next morning as well, and we just don't know how it got there. And then the second time I went, I think you were there actually, Gemma. We were in that top room again, and we heard that growl.
Yeah, oh, yes. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was very loud and you could hear it.
It was very loud. It made the floor vibrate. And it was also like very sort of like a dominant growl as well. And there was no physical way we could debunk that. And then for it to happen then 3 times after.
Because wasn't one of your first blogs about that event?
Yes, it was that event where the growl was, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I thought it was.
And there's just no way I can debunk them no matter how hard I try.
Well, no, because we was upstairs. There was no noise from outside. There was no animals around because the whole building was shut off and we was in and the doors were shut. And we'd done a walk around and done baseline readings before we'd even started the event.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do remember that one, actually, Chloe. That was a very good night. But we did find a lot of EVPs as well, didn't we, listening back?
Yeah, a lot of them were sort of hidden in the feedback and white noise.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I mean, it was a good night, but there's just no way I can physically debunk it, No matter how hard you try, you can't recreate it. You can't, make it up.
No.
You can't debunk it as a stomach growl because it just wasn't that kind of growl.
Well, no, I think, didn't somebody actually capture the audio for that as well?
What, the growl?
The growl itself, yeah. Wasn't that caught on audio?
Yeah, I think UK Haunted have put it on YouTube.
So yeah, there is something to back up the fact that there is no way that could have been a belly growl. Because let's face it, once it gets to midnight on any investigation, it doesn't matter who you're investigating with, once it gets to midnight, your belly decides it's going to chip in and start making noises. Every event without fail.
Absolutely. Somebody's will always growl.
Yeah. Emily in the chat room is asking if you've got a favourite place. Where's your favourite place that you've investigated? And you did answer that one, didn't you, Chloe?
Yeah, I mean, I love everywhere I go. Everywhere has so much history behind it and, everywhere's just different.
It is. And you can go to the same place 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and every time you can get a different response.
Absolutely.
So it is always worth going back and investigating again. Is there anywhere that you've not been that is on your list to investigate?
Oh, there's a few places. I really want to do the ancient ramming. I really want to do Woodchester Mansion. Because I really want to go in the cellar and just be left alone in there. I don't know why. I really don't know why.
There's only anybody that is into the paranormal that would want to be put in a cellar and left alone.
I know. I really don't know why, but it just really intrigues me. Ancient Ramming, Woodchester Mansion, and I really want to go to the Galleries of Justice as well. In Nottingham.
Have you never been there?
I've never been there.
I think, I've been a few times and I quite enjoy it, but everybody's different. And everybody has different experiences in different locations. So definitely, though, try it. If you get the option to go, definitely go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's on my bucket list. So I'm dying to go at some point.
Have you got much on your booking list?
Not many, no. But I'm sure more places will crop up the more I look.
I'm sure they will indeed. When you're out investigating, Chloe, have you got a favourite piece of equipment that you prefer to use?
At the moment, it's my SB7 spirit box. I just seem to have loads of... when I've gone out and I've used it, I've always had responses on it.
On specifically the SB7?
Yeah, it never tends to come through as radio bleed because I use the highest scanning, so it always scans quickly and I always scan backwards as well.
Yeah.
But I always just seem to be able to get some kind of response. Not necessarily always the clearest, admittedly. But I don't know, that's just my go-to item, I think. I just love using it.
Is there any other piece of equipment that you prefer to use above the rest?
I'm not too sure. They're all different. Again, they're all different. They all, they all have their good aspects. I do like my K2 as well, though. I do think that's a good piece of equipment to use.
Okay.
Hello?
We have
Sorry.
We've still got Gemma, sorry.
I glitched out for a minute there. I am so sorry. I don't know what happened.
I was like, it's all gone quiet. What's going on?
Technical error there, technical error. There had to be one somewhere, didn't there?
It's all good.
Sorry, Chloe, I didn't quite catch what you said there. So you like your SB7 and your K2?
Yeah, but obviously the K2 you have to be careful with because it can get interrupted by electrical items like your mobile phone and stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to ensure, that people are sort of careful around it.
Do you check the location as well with the K2 before you start using it on an investigation, just to check for your weak spots?
It's quite a new item, so I've not actually used it in an event, like in a house. But I did take it to a local church ruin ground. Obviously, there's no electric around there, but I did walk around with it just to make sure.
Yeah.
And it didn't peak or anything, and then we had responses with it when we were speaking out. So at that time, I took it as a reliable sort of communication mechanism.
Yeah, it's the same with any piece of equipment. All equipment has potential to fail, as we've just proved. I glitched out on my phone. So every piece of equipment has got potential to fail.
Absolutely.
Because most ghost hunting equipment it's all based on EMF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The atmosphere is made up of EMF anyway, so it can cause fluctuations, which can have an impact on your investigation.
Yeah, I think it's as long as you sort of do your baseline readings and know where and if there's anywhere that it's going to peak at its best, you can almost take it as a reliable sort of piece of equipment.
Yeah,
if you're in an area where it's going to peak, you can at least write that off and use another piece of equipment.
Exactly, which is one of the most important reasons why doing your baseline checks is so important, because at least that way you are getting a more accurate reading.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Going back to you being sensitive, Chloe, and hearing voices, because I know you've got a young girl.
Yeah.
You've got a little girl. Is she showing any signs of picking up on anything paranormal?
Not at home, but I took her to this church ruin place one summer. Me and my friend went over just in the day. You know, it's quite a pretty little place. And I said to her, you know, she was 3 at the time, so I said to her, go on, you know, like chase the butterflies over there. And she went, no, mummy. I was like, oh. I was like, why not? She was like, there's a scary man over there, mummy. So I got her to explain him to me, you know, like child talk, like tall or small or whatever.
Yeah.
And she described this man to me. And it's exactly the same man that one of my friends has described seeing.
Really?
Yeah. So I found that a bit weird, because obviously you don't say that sort of stuff to a 3-year-old.
No, definitely not. That's not the sort of conversation you would have with a 3-year-old, is it really?
But yeah, this scary man in this graveyard was exactly the same person my friend's seen. And it happened to be the side of the grave of this man, and he doesn't like women. So I found that weird. So she's picked that up, but she's not seemed to pick anything else up.
I suppose it's a bonus that she's not picking anything up at home, because, I mean, the last thing you want, especially with kids, because they can be quite scared. So the last thing you'd want as a mum is your child to be scared at home.
No, absolutely. But then again, I think it's clear, you know, as I said earlier, I don't do my protection.
Yeah.
But I do make it clear that nothing is to follow me home.
Yeah.
You know, because I am cautious of going home to my little one. I'm quite serious about that. You know, you don't follow me home, you're not welcome. And thankfully, touch wood, it doesn't happen. But I think
so you've never experienced anything attempting to follow you home, or feeling as though, because I know I've spoken to a few people, and a lot of people will say that sometimes after leaving a location they feel a bit on edge or uneasy that something's followed them, especially if that specific person has had a lot of activity based around them on the event. Yeah.
No, I've not had anything follow me home or try to, you know, do anything. So as long as it stays that way, I'm happy. I'm quite happy to go out there. I'll put myself out there, but they do not follow me home.
No, exactly. And it's always good to have ground rules, especially as you're going out.
Absolutely. Like I said, it comes back down to the respect thing again, doesn't it? Like, I respect you, you respect me, sort of thing.
Of course.
You know, it works both ways.
You've got to give and give respect in life in general, not just in paranormal investigating, but in life.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
Get out of life what you put in, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, it's a two-way street. You can't just do nothing and expect everything to come to you.
No, exactly. Have you got a next event lined up, Chloe, that you're going to be writing your blog on?
I haven't got any events lined up at the minute. I am looking for some to go on, especially as the nights start drawing in.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, can't wait. But I'm definitely on the lookout for new events, maybe some new places as well.
It's places that you've never been, or just new places in general?
I've never been. So hopefully I can get the diary booked up a little bit before Christmas.
Like you say, with the dark nights drawing in as well, I always seem to find that the activity is more heightened around winter time, and especially because we've got Halloween coming up. Absolutely.
So that'll be quite exciting. Hopefully there'll be some new events, and that I can go and get a little bit more activity and try out some new things.
David in the chat room is wanting to know, what's your favourite paranormal show, Chloe?
Oh, that's a good question. On TV, I only watch Ghost Adventures mainly, but I have watched Ghost Chasers and Help My House is Haunted, which is currently on.
Yeah.
But then I do often watch some through YouTube as well.
Yes.
UK Haunted have obviously got their own channel.
Yeah.
And I also watch the Paranormal Detectives. They both run their own channels and do their own episodes through their YouTube channel. And they're quite a good watch. So I do like watching them as well.
Do you prefer to watch the shows on YouTube as opposed to the actual TV programs that are out there at the minute?
YouTube's sometimes a lot easier to access, especially if you're out and about.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of hype at the minute as well, haven't they, with a certain TV company removing TV shows. So, I can see where you're coming from with that. So, maybe YouTube is more accessible. And I find there's a lot more... it's not as planned, if you like, on YouTube, because it is just... There's a lot of urban exploration going on, isn't there?
Yeah.
Is that something that you personally would want to do, Chloe? Because I know you write in your blog, and I do read it every time you put a new one out. But have you thought about going into like the vlogging side of things?
I haven't thought about it, no. I just don't think I'm really good at camera skills, to be honest. So I just sit on my PC and I write it all out. And
at least you can do that in your pyjamas.
That's it. They take me a good couple of hours to write as well. The last one took me about 2.5 hours, I think it was, to write, because obviously you want to portray it as accurate as possible.
Yeah. Do you do your blogging like straight after an event while everything's fresh in your mind, or do you wait until the next day?
I tend to do it the next day, so it's still quite fresh in my mind. Go home, sort of have a good night's sleep after the event, and then sort of write up not as quick as I can, but as accurately as I can the next day.
Yeah. I always find sleeping after an event is always difficult.
Yes.
Always, because my mind's too wired. I'm re-going over the whole event and what's happened and what hasn't happened. And I do find it
as well.
Yeah, I find it really hard to switch off after an event. Do you get that as well? Is that something that you get?
Yeah, I struggle to switch off when I get home. And then when you do fall asleep and you wake up, you get what I call a ghost hunt hangover.
Yeah, the paranormal hangover.
We've done a show on the paranormal hangover before now.
It always makes an appearance.
Nothing worse. Always. I don't think you're ever lucky enough to avoid it.
No. If anyone does, then I am jealous.
Well, then listen to the show, ladies.
If they do, can they pass it on? How does everybody avoid a paranormal hangover?
Well, listen to the show we did on paranormal hangovers, and there's a lot of information in there, because there's two forms, obviously. There's your physical form, because obviously, there's lots of other factors that come into play on that one. But there's the spiritual too, and that's the one that people forget about.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, jumped in there.
No, you carry on, Kerry. I mean, let's face it, we all have that problem of a paranormal hangover. So.
We do, but I think people forget. I think when people work in a very spiritual way, which, Chloe, you seem to work in a very spiritual way when you're out in the field, from the sounds of it. It's a muscle, exactly the same way as a physical muscle. It's exactly the same thing, and if you don't use it on a regular basis, then when you've used it on an investigation, you have an effect. The same as if you don't go to the gym for like 2 weeks, and then you go out to the gym, you're going to ache and you're going to have an effect the next day. It's exactly the same thing, and that's the side of things people kind of forget. So without the normal physical extremities that your body goes through on an investigation, and that's from like the heat, the cold, the food you're eating, the tiredness, all those other factors, the adrenaline peaks and troughs that you go through on an investigation. When you start looking at it from different angles, you start realising that it's a bigger ball game. So of course you're going to have a para hangover the next day. It was when we researched that, it was really, really interesting. But people forget that the spiritual muscle, if you're working in that way, it's just as important as, it's the same. You'll have the same effect, like you've done a physical workout, but on a spiritual level, like an energy level. So
don't you find, though, speaking of the spiritual side of things, don't you find that the more investigations you go on, the more spiritually aware you become.
Yeah. I totally think so. I mean, Chloe, you work. I'm shocked actually that somebody who works very spiritual doesn't use protection. I'm actually quite shocked at you, Chloe. Quite frankly.
Oh.
Sorry, just putting it out there. I'm like, because you know what you're doing, because you know your boundaries, and you obviously know that side of it. But it's what you're encountering. If you encountered something really bad, I'm shocked that you haven't pulled your protections in initially to start that. And my question on that one is, why?
I don't know. I guess part of it is I'm not scared, maybe. Although I'm aware of what can happen, it doesn't scare me. Which maybe could be a bit worrying, because if the worst did happen, I would only have myself to blame. But I don't know, really. I've just never really thought of it. I just tend to get more happening when I don't do it.
You did say early on, though, that if during the night and the investigation, if you feel that it's getting too much or becoming too heavy or too personal, then you will pull out your protection.
Absolutely. I'll take a time out and sort of find my white light and, draw it closer to me and get rid of anything bad around me.
So, although you're not necessarily doing your protection at the very beginning of the night before you enter, you are self-conscious of the fact that if something's starting to become too much, that you need to take yourself off and concentrate on you and protect you.
Yeah, I know if I need it, it's there. And I can sort of call it in any time I need to.
Yeah, see, that at least you are aware of that and you're not potentially leaving yourself open, if you like.
No. I don't leave myself open, and I don't do things like provoke, really. I don't agree with it. I don't want to get myself in deeper than I can get out of, if that makes sense.
Do you feel that happens if you're provoking? Do you feel that you are leaving yourself wide open?
I think you make yourself a bit of a target if you do that.
Yes, definitely. You see, I would agree with that.
Any bad spirits like a challenge, I think. So they will try and push boundaries and find your weak point.
Yeah, and everybody's got a weak point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Whether you know it or not, it'll be found.
Are you aware of your weak point on an investigation?
No, not at all. Not at all.
There's a question in the chat room from Brian. What's your opinion on using Ouija boards?
Okay. I always said I would never touch them. I would never ever touch them. I would never mess with them. But back in October, I was on an event, and they have a spiritual consultant with them on every event. Mm-hmm. And I actually did a Ouija board. It was my first time ever on it. There was only 3 of us on the board. No, there was 4 in total, sorry. And the other 3 people I knew, so I completely trust them.
Yes.
And the glass just started moving and moving, and it spelled out my name. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, my name gets used on a daily basis. It means nothing to me. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, what's my middle name? And it spelled it out straight away. And I was like, okay. And then I asked my age, and the glass just shot across to my age. And that started to concern me a little bit. And then the glass started doing the infinity symbol.
Yeah.
Now, to anybody that doesn't know, the infinity symbol is not normally a good symbol to come out on a Ouija board. It's supposedly said to open a portal. And straight away, the spiritual consultant was like, no, look, I'm shutting this board down now. And I actually felt like a really heavy weight on my shoulders. I don't know whether it was like the adrenaline running through from the response that we got. I don't really know what it was, but I stuck with the spiritual consultant for the rest of the night. And he was like, look, here's your protection. You do not go home with her. And I was absolutely fine.
Yeah. So you had no adverse reactions from it then?
Nope. I have done a Ouija board since again with the same spiritual consultant, because I won't touch one without him.
Yeah.
That's my one rule. I will not touch it if he is not there. And the second time, again, Gemma, we were at Falstaff back in May.
Yes.
And my friend was on the board as well, and she had a very, very personal response on the Ouija board. There was just me and her on the board. Everybody had dropped out at one point or another. And the glass was going that fast, we could hardly keep up with it. Like, we struggled to keep up with that glass.
Yeah.
Intelligent responses are coming through, and again, we just can't debunk that. We just how fast that glass was going, there's no way that it could have been one of us, because neither of us could keep up with it.
So at any point during that, there was only two of you with your hands on it. So
yeah.
If it was going that fast, I'm guessing that at times there will have only been one person on it, and that will have kept changing as the glass was moving around the board.
Yeah, definitely, because we were both stood opposite sides of the table as well.
So yeah, am I right in thinking it was a big table as well? It's like a family-sized dining table, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. So obviously our hands basically just met in the middle. There's no way either of us would have been able to push it to one side or the other, because it's impossible.
What was your reasons for never wanting to do a Ouija board?
Again, I think it's the images that horror films put in your head, to be honest. I'm a massive horror film lover. I will sit and watch them every day of the week. But I think it just puts a sort of stigma in your head of what you should expect from them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying to anybody just go out there and buy one and jump on it. Of course not.
No, obviously, no. That's not recommended for anybody.
But, only the dangers are highlighted, I suppose, as opposed to... I mean, the second time I was on it when me and my friend were on it certainly wasn't a negative experience.
No, but as you say, especially with the films, they put a negative outlook on it, and they enhance it as well. They make it look a lot worse than what it actually is.
Yeah.
But if you've not got the knowledge of the spiritual world and Ouija boards and the equipment that you're using, then you are potentially leaving yourself vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to be really careful, Like I said, I wouldn't recommend anybody just to hop on one and expect amazing results, because you don't know what you're messing with.
Let's be honest, sometimes you can be sat, it's just the same as any sort of experiment, table tipping, Ouija boards, even down to calling out. You can be sat there for 10 minutes and you can get something, or you can be sat there for 10 hours and get nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
Nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to paranormal investigating.
No.
Don't get me wrong, it would be great in an ideal world to have a crystal ball that could tell you that when you go out on your next event that you're going to have loads happen and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
But in the real world, that's not how it is.
No, and I think that's where a lot of people get disheartened and maybe lose any passion they had in it, because they expect the world and it doesn't happen.
Exactly.
And
do you ever
find
find
it's not realistic?
Exactly, it's not realistic. Do you ever find that your abilities aren't always as finely tuned in some locations or at different times, and you're not always able to pick up on paranormal activities?
I don't really know at the moment, because it's still quite new to me. I don't think I've been out enough to strengthen them, maybe. The things that have happened, again, I can't debunk that, and I can't explain the links between that and the building. But I don't think I've maybe strengthened it as much as I could. So maybe I don't always pick up on what I could, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. It just goes back to what we were saying earlier about how the more investigating you do, the more aware you are of what's going on behind you and around you. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a fair few events to open myself up, At first I was just going on an event because that was what I liked doing.
Yeah.
But you have to sort of open yourself up and allow, not to be scared, you've got to allow yourself to hear things, or just
I think
open
sometimes
up
as well, you can mishear something.
Oh, yeah. I
I think you do have to be aware of your surroundings and everybody else around you, really, and finally tune yourself. And it is difficult. Kaz, hi Kaz. Kaz is asking if you've got a pet hate when investigating. Good question.
Have I got a pet hate? I really hate when people are just there to mess around, because people genuinely enjoy these things, but unfortunately you do go to events and people are there just to make the taps when it's quiet.
Yeah,
I just think it ruins the atmosphere for everybody that's there and the people who have spent their time and
money, to be fair. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's not always cheap to go on these investigations. No. And like you say, if you have got somebody that is just there, doesn't want to believe,
they just ruin it for everybody else.
Yeah, completely.
And I don't like that. Is one of my worst pet hates, I think.
Yeah, I think I could totally agree with you on that one, to be honest.
Unfortunately, they're going to happen everywhere. But,
Tom in the chat room is asking if you've got any advice for somebody that is new to investigating.
The first rule is always be safe and always be respectful. Don't do anything to put yourself in danger. And like we said earlier, you've got to be respectful to anyone or anything you may come across. It's not all about having high-tech equipment or the best of anything. You can just go out with your eyes and your ears.
Definitely.
As long as you're safe. I wouldn't recommend maybe going alone. Always take somebody with you. As long as you're safe and you're open to it and you're willing to spend the time to debunk, then I don't think you can go wrong as a starter, to be honest.
And definitely starting out, I would say go with somebody who has got experience. Don't just go it alone, because I know when I was a child, I did exactly that. My first paranormal encounter was going out with my friends, thinking that was clever because we'd seen a horror movie, and it's not recommended.
No.
Ness in the chat room has asked what you think to table tipping.
I've done table tipping before. Had really, really good responses on it. Managed to get the table all the way to the floor, but not quite touching the floor without it actually falling over. So it was a really, really good response. I mean, that was a good couple of years ago when I first started sort of going on events when I was old enough to. But it always sticks in my head because of how I got the table. You physically couldn't do that with fingers on top of a table without it slipping from underneath you.
Yeah.
So I do think it's quite, and you don't, because it's only tipping a table, you don't open up a portal like you would on a Ouija board. So it is, I mean, the one time I've done it was successful, absolutely.
So that is something that you would try again in the future?
Yeah.
When you're out on investigations, Chloe, and because most times there is quite a few people. I mean, when I do investigations, I like to keep it as intimate as possible.
Yeah.
But when you've been on investigations and there's a lot of people there, do you find that can sometimes affect the activity that you get in?
Yeah, if there's a lot of people, sometimes I find that, again, with people around, maybe people that are further away from the people running the event, the slightest little noise might get them a bit sort of wound up and a bit, not scared, but a bit on edge.
Yeah. So when you get people screaming and jumping, it can have a knock-on effect. Definitely, I agree with that.
Yeah, and it can sort of ruin any energy that you build up within the group. It can sort of wipe it clear or, maybe scare anything away that was sort of creeping closer, so to speak.
David in the chat room is saying that you're very interesting, Chloe, and you should consider doing vlogs. Is that something that you will consider in the future? Maybe not necessarily now, but in the future.
I might have to Google my camera skills, but I suppose it's always an avenue I could go down later down the line, maybe.
I mean, the blog, I have read the blog, and as I said earlier, I do read it every time you put a new blog out. And I think that I agree sometimes that with the vlogging, it can have more of a personal impact as such, because you're actually looking at the person that's been through this experience.
Yeah.
And that's what investigating is. Every event, even if you have 3 or 4 people that hear or see the same thing, it is still a personal experience, because just because you've seen and heard something, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've all seen and heard the same thing.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. So maybe that's something I can look into and, do a couple of little personal videos to see how my skills are combining stuff together.
I'm sure you would be absolutely fine. I mean, I suppose the most daunting thing it would be being on camera.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really suppose there's anybody that absolutely loves a camera being shoved in the face.
No, I don't think they do.
No. Definitely with the blogging, as we said, that's something that you can do at home in your pyjamas with your hair a mess, no makeup on, cup of tea. You can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong, can you?
Definitely not. So you've not got any events lined up, but you are actually currently looking for new locations.
Yes, I am, which would be quite exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Do you like where you live, Chloe, have you got because I've got loads around me. There's loads of areas that have got like urban legends, and it's like there's a woods and there's a white lady that's supposedly seen. Do you have loads of urban legends like that around you?
We do. About 10 minutes away from where I live, we have a woods, and it's supposedly got a headless horseman in it. But if you follow the woods down the back, there's actually the ruins of a house. It's all fenced off now because obviously the building's so old, it's sort of crumbling and stuff. But it's apparently where the Elephant Man resided when he was banished.
Really?
Yeah, I'm yet to find it.
I was going to say that was going to be my next question. Have you actually been, and have you tried looking for it?
I've looked for it, and you can see it down one of the roads that you drive down to get to a village, but you can't access it from that road. You've literally got to walk through the wood because it's sort of in the middle of a field now. I guess back when it was built and stuff, it was all like horses, and so it would have been easy access on a horse, I suppose. But yeah, I've got to walk through the woods at some point and try and find it.
Is that going to be something that is on your list of things to do? Are you going to be finding out if the Elephant Man is around?
Absolutely. Me and my mum have looked into it. And we were going to go yesterday, but obviously we had loads of rain where we were, so the woods would have been all boggy and just horrible, so we decided to pass. But
yeah, don't blame you. After all this lovely weather, we finally get a downpour, and it really is a downpour.
Yeah, literally. But we are going to find it, so hopefully if I can take some equipment with me, might be able to sort of validate anything around the building, which will be interesting.
Would you live stream that on Facebook when you went? Because I know sometimes when you are out, you will do a live stream.
Yeah, I mean, if the signal's all up for it, then yeah, absolutely, I would live stream it 100%. Because I do think, again, it's interesting to get maybe people that haven't seen my blog through my Facebook or anything. It's an avenue for them to see as well. Same as Periscope through Twitter.
Yes,
that's
not something that I'm really, I've never really used it, to be fair. So
yeah,
so I'm not entirely sure on how Periscope works. But like you say, signal some areas is a really bad issue for going live.
Yeah, it just breaks up, and it's not really good for people watching. I know if I've watched a stream and it keeps interrupting, I get annoyed and I just switch off.
Yeah.
You just think, no.
Is there anywhere, Chloe, that you wouldn't go, that you've heard of, or that scares you or gives you the heebie-jeebies? Is there any location that you are definitely not going to?
I don't think I've got any that I don't want to go to. I'm willing to try anything at least once. Again, people can put stories in your head and make you believe what they want you to believe almost.
The power of suggestion can be so strong sometimes. Definitely, it's hard to clear your head from the stories that you've been told.
That's it. So I'm even if somebody told me it's the worst place in the world, this and that happened, I'd still give it a go because I'd want my own experience there.
Definitely. I mean, I've had a few personal experiences at a few locations that I've said that I am definitely never ever 100% not going back to that location again.
Yeah.
And then I've gone back, and it's been totally different. So.
Yeah. I mean, I did Gloucester prison earlier this year, and I lost time in one of the rooms. Like, I literally cannot tell you what I was doing for an hour. Still can't tell you to this day. And on the evening, I was like, nope, I am not going back in there. Like, no, you can't pay me enough to go in there. But then I sit here now and I think, yeah, I would. I'd like to see if it happens again. So I think maybe at the time when all your emotions are everywhere, you'll say things. Because I've never lost time before.
No.
You know, I can always tell you what I've done, but I still cannot recall what I did for an hour in part of that prison.
Oh my God! What part of the prison was that in?
It was in the workshop area at Gloucester Prison.
Wow. And you was by yourself completely?
No, there was a whole group of us in there.
Oh really?
Yeah. And I don't know. I just, like, I knew I was stood there, but one minute I just clicked back and I was like, oh, what have we done?
Where am I? What am I doing here?
It was just really weird.
So out of the whole group of people, you was the only person that experienced that?
Yeah, apparently there was lots going on, like there was activity and things, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Did anybody fill you in on what had happened while you'd been blissfully unaware?
Yeah, I'd gone with two of my friends, so they sort of like, well, this happened, oh, that was weird, and I was like, yeah, okay.
Oh, God.
Like, just agree.
See, I don't think I've personally ever had that where I've lost time. I've had it where I can't believe the time's gone so quick and the time's over and you've got to go home.
Yeah.
So that must be so strange for a personal experience, something like that to happen.
Yeah, it was so odd. And for me to still not be able to recall what happened it's just a bit unbelievable, to be honest.
And has that happened anywhere else, or is it just the once that has happened?
No, just the once there.
Oh my God, bless you. Henry in the chat room is asking if you've got a favourite place that you'd want to go back to.
Ooh, I'd always go back to Falstaff every time.
And you've been there twice, did you say?
Yeah, I've been there twice. But I'd also like the quite like twice as well the last 2 years, and every time has been different, but you know more. It's one of them, like, I've been twice, I've had different things both times, but I feel like it's got so much more to give.
Yeah, you see, I quite often get that feeling that you can be in somewhere and you can be having experiences happen, and then it's like, but there is more. But the question is, how do you get that more? What do you need to do to get more energy to come through?
Yeah. I don't know. I just always leave like never disappointed, and it always feels like there's something more that I need to find out.
You are very optimistic, though, on investigations, and I can say that because I have actually been on an investigation or two with you. So you are quite open, and you don't shut anything down, and I think that is really important when it comes to going out and investigating. Because if you go and you hear a noise and instantly you're like, oh my God, that's happened, and you sort of put the barriers up, that can restrict the activity that you are going to get for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
David in the chat room is asking what 3 locations you would suggest him to investigate in England.
Ooh.
It would sound like Falstaff would be on that list because it is somewhere that you really enjoy. So I'm guessing that would be there.
Falstaff, definitely. The Spirit House in Evesham again. I've only been there once, but I did like that. I felt for a small building there was a lot going on. I don't really know. There's a lot of places, I think. I don't think I've been to enough maybe to suggest a lot of
What did you think to... Because I've been with you at Drakelow Tunnels.
Yes.
What did you think to Drakelow?
It's very big, isn't it?
It is huge.
I mean, it is weird. I mean, the weirdest thing there is when that phone rang in the surgery, but there's no electric to the phone.
Yes, I remember that.
That rang very, very loud.
Yeah, there were about 7 of us in the room, and we all heard the phone ring, and it was an old-fashioned phone ring, so it wasn't like a mobile.
No, it was like an old surgery phone, wasn't it, on the wall?
Yeah, and we was all picking up the phone and following the line to see if it was plugged in anywhere. Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, that was good.
I mean, that was really weird, and again, I couldn't debunk that because we were told straight away that there's no electric around the building. But yeah, that was really weird. So maybe Drakelow, I would like to go back there actually, maybe, and just see if maybe we could get the same response happening again.
You see, Drakelow for me is, I really enjoy Drakelow because I must have been about 17 times. But every time I've been, it's been something different.
Oh, okay.
So
I mean, there's a lot of history to Drakelow, isn't there, as well?
There is. But then I suppose that theory could go for any location, any building, any ground in the whole of the world, not just in England, but in the whole of the world. Everywhere has history in some form or another.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's the foundations that it's built on, everything's got a story to it.
Of course it has. Just
while I'm on here, has any doorbells gone off? Has anybody had a doorbell ring? Obviously, Gemma, you're in your car.
Yeah, no, I've definitely not got a doorbell.
Neither do I.
My friend's just messaged me saying she keeps hearing a doorbell ring, like a really deep sounding doorbell.
I keep getting notifications come through, and I forgot to mute something. So sorry.
Maybe it's that then.
It could be that. I do apologise. It could be that.
Technical faults, you can't get away from them.
Like normally I'd have all this set up, and it was like last minute, and it was like, oh shit, I forgot to do that bit.
Oh dear.
I apologise.
So no. So there is a potential that could have been notifications.
It could,
that's fine.
Could easily have been, because So, sorry everybody if you was hearing
Debunked.
The notifications.
Debunked.
I do apologise. Yeah.
Oh,
you
couldn't write it, could you?
I know. I should have been producing, so I wasn't organised really. It's all I can say there, so I do apologise. Sorry, ladies. It's only after it got off a couple of times I thought, oh. No, that's me. Sorry.
It's okay. We all have technical faults.
Did I remember to mute my phone? That's a good thing. I did actually remember to do that bit because that would have been buzzing. That really would have got people talking.
Oh, you never know what you might get. But it is coming to the end of the show, guys. So I would like to thank Chloe for joining us tonight. It's been fascinating talking to you. And we will share your blog link. So if anybody at home wants to read Chloe's blogs, just pop on over to Parasearch Radio and the link is on there. And I do believe it's in the chat room as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And there is shows every night this week, so don't forget to listen in, guys. And obviously don't forget to, would you like to do the honours, Kerry?
I love this bit. Don't forget, all of our shows go up onto our YouTube channel, Parasearch Radio. Click, like, share and subscribe.
And that's made for a very happy Kerry. So everybody in the chat room, thank you so much for joining in and being interactive. It's been great chatting to you, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.